I don't think we can emphasize enough, Senator, tonight in light of protests. And we saw in the summer of 2020, many of them spiral out of control. We had dozens of dead Americans and thousands of injured cops and billions in property damage. We don't want to go back to those days. But when you have big crowds, it's always dangerous. So I don't think we can emphasize enough. Abortion is not illegal. It's not been outlawed. The Supreme Court only decided who should make the decision. They decided, based on our Constitution, that it is the state's decision, correct?
Well, what we've seen over the last few hours is how, unfortunately, American political coverage has become childish and unserious. And that's exactly what they're telling people. They make you think, if you watch some of these tweets and you see some of this reporting, you think abortion's been banned. Nothing's been banned. The only thing the Supreme Court did today is they said that under the Constitution, the people in the states have a right to decide via and through their elected representatives in each individual state whether they want to allow abortion, prohibit it, and how they want to regulate it. That was a decision that was made today. And that's what we're talking about here now. The reason why they're having this left-wing meltdown, there's two reasons why. The first is that as long as they had Roe v. Wade, they didn't have to worry about having that debate. They didn't have to go out there and have to argue and justify why they think, for example, that abortion should be taxpayer-funded and legal up to the moment of birth. They didn't want to have that argument. They didn't have to worry about having that argument. The second reason why they're melting down is because Roe actually imposed a standard, a law on the entire country without anybody being able to do anything about it. They love that situation that they're in. And the third is politics. I think Act Blue tonight announced they've raised $18 million off of this. The Democrats think this is going to turn out a bunch of voters and help them forget what an incompetent presidency we're under. And so those are the three reasons here. But here's the irony as you're showing these images, okay? We are seeing massive protests. Los Angeles, New York, D.C. These are liberal cities led by liberal leaders in liberal states that are never going to ban abortion. So they're going to tear down, potentially commit acts of violence in places where abortion will always be legal as long as it's in the hands of the states, because these are liberal places. That's the irony of all this.
And the fact that they're lying to people for political reasons. Clearly, they can't run on the economy, Senator. Clearly, they can't run on how well they've done down at the border. They can't run on gas prices. They can't run on what they did in Afghanistan or the war in Europe or any other of the many failures that's on the list of Joe Biden's policies, right? So now this is what? We'll run on guns, abortion, January 6th, and Republicans, the usual playbook. They're racist, sexist, homophobic, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, they can't run on saying to people that abortion is still, tragically, there were still abortions today. Tragically, there'll be abortions tomorrow because abortion's not banned. They can't run on that. So they have to lie to people and say there was just a ruling that bans it or almost bans it. That's what they're telling people, when in fact the ruling today, and this is what they can't run on, is to tell people the Supreme Court today ruled that you, through your elected representatives in the state that you live, will get to decide what you want the law to be about abortion. They can't run on that, so they have to lie and tell people go out, take to the streets. And
For example, what is the law in the state of Florida, Senator?
Well, the legislature in Florida passed a 15-week ban, meaning after the first 15 weeks, and by the way, that is consistent and in line with what much of the countries of Europe have. That in poll after poll, these guys love talking about polls. Poll after poll after poll show the overwhelming majority of Americans support a ban after 15 weeks.
By the way, Guttmacher Institute actually put out statistics that fully 55% of abortions today are done by pills in people's homes. I found that number to be very high. I looked elsewhere, and it seems to be consistent with other estimates.
Yeah, and all of these are tragic, okay? But the point being that that's what the law is in Florida. That's what the law. That's what this case was about. Was a Mississippi law that was being challenged and worked its way over to the court. But what these people don't want you to know, and why they don't want to have these debates, what they don't want you to know is that in order to be accepted by these radical abortion groups, you have to be in favor of taxpayer-funded abortion without restriction up until the moment of birth. That is the position you must take if you're going to get the support of these radical groups that are out there. They don't want you to know that, so they don't want the debate.